Hello and welcome to another episode on Maritime Radar. Trade has a key role to play, although it has been underexploited in Africa. Specifically, emerging policy reforms may provide the required drive for progress. The establishment of Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the emphasis on boosting intra-African trade are key priorities of the continent's development vision. The African Union's Agenda 2063, the future we want for Africa. This rather ambitious trade agenda is reinforced by important trade-related targets that are included as means of implementation for the SDGs, and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda contains several other trade elements for Africa. Addressing the supply chain challenges, skill gap are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. In Africa, both the processes and degree of regional integration have lagged behind expectation, and many political commitments have either not been translated into policy and regulatory reforms or are simply not implemented. The region thus remains weakly integrated, with continuing tariff barriers, for example, where restrictive rules of origin cannot be met. Global markets offer important opportunities for companies in developing countries by exporting to larger markets. This will increase production, growth, and employment rather than focusing on smaller domesticated markets. Developing countries like Africa must overcome severe hurdles before being able to export to global markets. Looking at this critically, regional markets becomes the required testing ground for these companies. Barriers to accessing markets in the region are often lower than those of the global markets as they share similar taste, standards, distance, and culture. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Nigeria's maritime industry came together for the Women's International Shipping and Trading Association WISTA Nigeria Business Event in Lagos. The theme for this year was Blue Economy, Potential for Rebuilding and Repositioning Nigeria's Maritime Industry.
For the Blue Economy Ministry to thrive,
Nneoma Obi-Asualo, host of Maritime Radar on New Central Television, moderated a session where panelists shared their expertise and insights.
It's expedient to initiate an ocean regulatory governance for sustainable development in order to maximize the blue economic potential in Nigeria. Regulatory governance will ensure the integrated conduct of the policy, action, and affairs regarding the world's oceans and protect ocean environment, ensure sustainable use of coastal and marine resources, as well as the conservation of its biodiversity.
The session facilitated productive discussions and innovation problem-solving strategies focused on the maritime industry's crucial role in Nigeria's economy, acknowledging its complex challenges, including the need to harness the blue economy potentials, infrastructure, national fleet, shipping, building, and more.
I must commend Nigeria as a country. We have taken some measurable strides. And those measurable strides include the creation of a maritime administration, NIMASA, in 2007. That is a major stride because initially, remember, we only had the National Maritime Authority, which was set up for, cargo sharing, UNCTAD 40-40-20. I think all of us will remember that. And please do not forget that UNCTAD code is still in existence.
The event also brought together prominent experts and stakeholders who collaboratively addressed the pressing challenges confronting Nigeria's maritime industry. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, at the 2023 Abuja Investment Summit and Expo, said the federal government is considering setting up a national shipping line through a strategic public-private partnership arrangement. Noting that this move is aimed at capturing a substantial share of the estimated $10 billion annual ship charter market within the country, The minister, represented by Busayo Fakenlede, also unveiled the ministry's strategic plans to redefine the marine and blue economy sector for sustainable national socio-economic growth and development. He further noted that his ministry is working towards creating 2 million jobs on a yearly basis through strategic development within the sector. Oyetola stated that the target of the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry was to at least match the gross domestic product contribution of the oil and gas sector within the next 4 years. The Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft Patrol Team said it apprehended 4 individuals trying to illegally leave the country on board a container vessel called Tema Express en route to Dubai. The ship's commander, Commodore Kolawole Oguntuga, noted that the Maritime Domain Awareness Facility, the Falcon Eye Alignment, played a critical role in providing information that led to the arrest. Oguntuga identified the stowaways as Ebi Agriv, 22 years, Lucky Amusu, 23 years, Goodness Edu, 28 years, and Michael Daniel, 18 years old. Tactical teams were dispatched to the vessel at Lagos Anchorage after receiving information from the Maritime Domain Awareness Facility. Oguntuga said the stowaways have been handed over to the Nigeria Immigration Service. The Commodore pointed out that the 4 put themselves in life-threatening situations during the long sea voyage, especially as they remained in confined spaces for an extended duration. They also presented a security threat to the crew.
You wake up to a lot of stories about Africa.
But this is where you get the story straight.
Where we explore different angles because we understand our stories.
There's that passion when it's your perspective and not a distant perception.
I know you hear it a lot, but it's true. Nobody can tell your story better than you.
That's what we do.
All day, every day,
On News Central TV.
are African stories by Africans for Africans.
If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radar for African ports to fall in line with the requirements of global logistics and supply chain network. Concerted efforts must be made to eliminate all port practices that induce congestion and to invest more on facilities and platforms that can enhance efficiency in optimizing operational, transactional, and storage systems in the ports. In this chat with Dr. Obiora Madu, Chairman, Multimix Group, shares on addressing the supply chain challenges and how Nigeria can leverage the opportunities of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement within the continent. Stay with us. Let's start this conversation giving our team viewers the background understanding of what transportation, logistics, and supply chain is, and how can it be optimized?
Okay, by way of introduction, when you say logistics, what comes to everybody's mind is movement. Nobody remembers storage, because you're either moving from a storage or you're delivering to a storage. So that's why you see there's so much emphasis on movement, but it's incomplete without. So logistics is responsible for when you procure to move it into the company, that's the inbound side. Logistics is responsible for moving it from the warehouse into the factory. Then it becomes finished goods from the factory, then the distribution component. These are the components of the entire supply chain that logistics is. Then again, people also have issues with, is logistics bigger than supply chain or is supply chain bigger than logistics? But what I say is that a component cannot be greater than a whole. Logistics is part of supply chain. Supply chain deals with end to end, from the supplier's supplier to the customer's customer. Everything, including logistics, falls under supply chain. So in fact, in so many companies, production, even under supply chain, because it is supply chain that makes it happen. Supply chain has become so important that we say that any company that is not applying the principles of logistics and supply chain management is planning to close down. It's as serious as that. So it is the root of everything. Then, of course, we will talk about the optimization. But if we link it to AFCTA, it is actually the bolts and nuts. And you know what happens when you remove a bolt and nut of anything, it will scatter. Okay. So until we get it right, AFCTA will not see the huge success it is meant to.
Talk us through these challenges and how it can be addressed.
Okay. One of the biggest challenges at the moment is infrastructure. Okay. If you look at all the modes of transport in so many developed countries of the world, all of them are working. The road, the rail, the sea, and also the inland waterways. So when all these are working, you don't have the situation we have in Nigeria where the road is so crowded. So that's one. Two is also the quality of personnel. Okay. For so many years we fought. It's just recently that we got NUC to approve BSc, Logistics and Supply Chain Management. In fact, so many universities are not yet even aware, but it's already in the NUC listing. So, and then, if you look at the Logistics Performance Index of the World Bank, where we are rated about 110 out of 160. The 5 pillars they look at ease of entry into the port. They look at quality of hard infrastructure, physical things. Then also quality of soft infrastructure, which is the logistics service. Then they are looking at timeliness of bringing things and coming, and then the ease of bringing things and taking things out. So I'm sure if I ask you to score Nigeria and so many African countries on this basis, I'm not sure you will score them well. So the challenges are so much and they are impeding trade. One major consequence of that is non-competitiveness. Logistics and infrastructure is responsible for the non-competitiveness of Nigerian economy in the international community.
So are you saying that the government who are responsible for giving this infrastructure on all that is needed to ensure the smooth running of the supply chain are not aware, are not sensitive to the need?
I will not say that they are not aware. I think I would prefer to say that they are not sensitive. And this insensitivity seems to also come out of lack of understanding and lack of knowledge of what this whole thing is all about. In Nigeria, for example, it's been transport. We are bidding for transport commission. We have a transport policy, when we should in fact be talking about logistics policy. Because logistics opens it up, makes it more embracing than restricted it to transport. If your rail is working, at some nodal points, there will be warehouses. If you come out and there are goods, they enter. If there are goods who are going towards where you are going, you collect. So all those things are part of the entire structure. So if you're looking at it from the end-to-end point of view, that's when success is achieved. Integration. If you go to Dubai, for example, from the cargo airport to the container terminal, from the seaport to the container terminal, all of them are like 10 minutes. So there's a full integration. So we're not integrating.
So let's look at the skill gap. So how do you think we can address that in this supply chain industry?
Okay, the skills gap, that happened to be my primary area.
Yeah, that's why I threw that
in 1999 2000, when we commenced in Nigeria, because we were the pioneer capacity building company in this area, people were just logistics managers by accident of posting. Not that they know what they are doing, but they really don't understand why they do it the way they do it. So, and then we started. So a lot has been done. And then, of course, a lot of other people came up, and some that were sleeping, like CILT, woke up, and the rest of them. And right now, universities, for example, I teach in Uniport. They have a Center for Logistics and Transport. Nnamdi Azikiwe University, they have an MSc Logistics and Supply Chain Management, and some others. But it is not enough. In fact, the most annoying thing is that this is the fastest growing career in the world today. It is the fastest growing career. If you're training people and you're looking for where the job is, that's where to be. But unfortunately, the universities do not understand. And again, okay, we've gotten the BSc approved. Where is the faculty that will teach it? That's the next problem that we have to face. Because we actually did train the trainer program for some of the faculties of these institutions. So it's at least we have taken the right step, but we're a bit late if you compare to what is happening in some African countries. So we'll get there. Then, of course, there are also professional certifications. Certifications, of course, have pushed degrees to the background. So right now, people can, with their school cert, go straight to some of the logistics and supply chain certifications and build a career along the line. So it's happening. It's just to keep creating the awareness and the rest of it.
We are due for a break now, but when we return, we'll be looking at the African Continental Free Trade Area and what place the supply chain has. Please stay with us.
News Central TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the News Central TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on News Central's social media platforms. News Central, Africa First.
If you're just joining us, this is Maritime Reader, and I still have with me Dr. Obiora Madu. Before we went on that break, I said we will be looking at the AFCTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area, and the place of the supply chain industry.
Okay. I said earlier that it is the bolts and nuts of everything, including AFCTA. AFCTA is a massive opportunity for Africa. The biggest single market in the world, 1.3 to 4 billion people and the rest of them. And then this continent also houses most of the natural resources in the world. But the challenge is intra-African trade is about 12-13%. Unlike what you have in Asia, 30, the Americas 40, and Europe 60. So we're not even trading among ourselves. We are about 20%, Africa is about 20% of the world population. But Africa's contribution to international trade is about 4%. So you ask, what is responsible for this? Supply chain. Nothing else. So when the AFCTA agreement, when the agreement came up, beautiful idea, but I know that we will not smile until.
So you think the agenda is ambitious? It's not something that could really be.
No. Is it something that the time has not come? No. But the point is that I think the Secretary General said something that we should not expect a quick answer. And that is reality. Reality in the sense that For example, Egypt said they are going to construct a continental highway all the way down to South Africa. You can imagine how long that would take. Then maybe from that point, maybe Nigeria will take it from there and do West Africa or ECOWAS. Then East Africa, which is the most integrated region in Africa, will also take it there. It will make it. There was a situation where Kenya people came to Nigeria, checked and found out they could supply us tea, coffee at better prices. I did the feasibility study with a Kenyan consultant, and we found it very feasible. But then, that was 2016. Till now, no shipment has been made. You know why? Logistics. Because you will ship to Europe first before it starts coming.
It comes to Africa.
So by the time that happens, you've lost all the advantages. So you need coastal lines, you need intercontinental highways, and the rest of them.
Okay, the initial arrangement of this AFCTA in 2021 is significant for Africa's political and economic aspirations. Then how do you think, obviously, with this discussion, it has not fared well from your own whatever. So what do you think is the way forward we should be doing beyond Nigeria, looking at the continent?
Yeah, okay. In an AFCTA program in Ghana, I told them that AFCTA is like a goat that is fed by so many people. So there was always an assumption, it looks like the other person has fed it, it looks like and the goat will end up going hungry. Political will. Individually, by every country. That's all it takes. Take Rwanda, for example. Rwanda is ready. What we're saying, they've already said visa-free for the entire African country. They're not wasting time. Kenya is starting in January. When are we starting? South Africa had said businessmen from Nigeria, they can give 10 years visa for ease of coming in and going out. So what are we doing? Are we even
what are we offering?
Let's say we're even reciprocating to the relevant countries that says it will reciprocate to them. Nothing. I mean, look at 264 people with genuine visa being turned back in Saudi Arabia. So it's I don't think we're even preparing.
Wow, the need to work on this trade cannot be overemphasized.
Yes.
We have identified some bottlenecks because what I tend to achieve from this program is firstly to identify the challenges, then but not just stop there, because most times you see that we come on conference and we just hype on the challenges, and everybody goes home. So but what should be done is bullet points. What are the things that needs to be done now as we round up this conversation? What are the things that you think you want to see, 1, 2, 3, 4, you want to see being done in Nigeria and the continent to ensure that we optimize the benefits of this trade, which it offers Africa?
Okay, I got off a dialogue on Zoom on services, the challenges of services export within African Continental Free Trade Area. Just the same thing, we've talked about the challenges, we talked about the policies, we talked about what needs to be done. But it doesn't make sense when we say all that and we cannot say, okay, these are the bullet points, so that we can tick off. We have a checklist to be ticking off as we go. See, we don't measure anything in this country. That's one of the biggest problems. And when you don't measure it, you can't manage it. If you don't measure it, you cannot improve on it, because you don't even know where you are to talk about improving your position. So I think, is there anything the private sector can do alone to improve this position? It will be for survival, not for the kind of improvement we're looking at. There must be a public-private partnership, which government will have to facilitate, because the private sector is ready, so that we can get better results. Everywhere, even in fiscal infrastructure, you can always work with the private sector to get results. So it's sad. It's sad that we will be sitting on top of the kind of opportunity that we're sitting and yet have the number of poor people that we have in this country. So, government will need to sit up. Agencies will need to implement policies that will help deliberate policies. Everybody will come and tell you about 7 or 8 agenda. Why don't you just
Make
take
it 2.
1 or 2? Face the first one. If you can finish it within the first 4 years, fantastic. But if we continue the way we're going, of course, Albert Einstein said, you continue to do the same thing and you're expecting a different result, you're wasting your time.
Oh, that's a fine place to end this conversation. When you are doing the same thing and expecting something different, I wonder what you look at. So a lot of other African countries are offering something, so like Rwanda offering visa-free, and Kenya, they are doing something. What is Nigeria offering? What is Nigeria offering to ensure that we optimize the opportunities this African continental free trade area offers us? Those are the words of Dr. Obiora Madu. He is the chairman, Multimix Group. I must thank you most kindly for your thoughts and your time on the show.
Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode. Join us every week on Maritime Radar as we explore factors that will ensure the development of the maritime sector in Africa. You can also expect the latest in global maritime news and industry insights right here. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. Many thanks for your time and see you again next week.